Wild Rose came out of fold space beneath a pale blue star, her saucer whispering instead of roaring, as if it sensed something old and gentle nearby. Below her lay a green crescent world ringed with silver ice, Polaris Minor 4, home to a place marked on no official chart, Polaris Shire. From orbit, the land looked like a child's dream of peace. Hills rolled like sleeping animals. Round doors glowed with lantern light. Smoke curled lazily from chimneys carved into earth and stone. Wild Rose smiled and guided her craft down into a meadow dusted with frost flowers. She barely had time to lower the ramp before she heard the shouting. "Thieves!" cried a small voice. "Giants!" cried another. "Probably dragons in disguise," muttered a third. A dozen hobbits burst from behind hedgerows and stone fences. Stout folk with bright eyes, fur-lined boots, and wool cloaks clasped with star-shaped pins. They carried frying pans, garden spades, and one very serious teapot held like a weapon. Wild Rose raised her hands and knelt so her red hair spilled forward. "Easy now, I'm no giant. Just passing through." The bravest of them, a hobbit with a white beard braided in 3 rings, stepped forward. "I am Mayor Bramblefoot of Polaris Shire, and if you're passing through, you've arrived at a very bad time." That was how Wild Rose learned of the coal clock. Far above the Shire, hidden within the planet's icy ring, an ancient machine had begun to turn again, an artifact left by the Star Kings long before hobbits ever tilled the soil. Each hour it ticked, winter crept farther south. Crops failed, burrows froze. The elders feared the clock would soon lock the world in endless cold. "We tried everything," Bramblefoot said sadly. "Songs, stories, tea, even second breakfast rituals." Wild Rose nodded solemnly. "Then we'll try something different." She took only what she needed, her wrist console, a coil of light rope, and 4 volunteers. Pipkin Two Toes, Maribel Underhill, Old Tuck, and a young hobbit named Elsie, who had never left the Shire and was terrified but determined not to show it. They rode the saucer up through the sky and into the ice ring, where stars fractured through crystal shards. At the heart of the ring floated the cold clock, a vast, frozen wheel of metal and runes, slowly turning, leaking blue frost into space. As they approached, shapes stirred in the ice. Frost whites emerged, thin, whispering things formed of regret and cold memory. The hobbits huddled together, but Wild Rose stepped forward, planting her boots on the hull. "No," she said firmly. "This machine doesn't belong to fear anymore." She sang, not loudly but clearly, a song of green fields, warm kitchens, and laughter at crowded tables. The hobbits joined in, voices trembling at first, then growing strong. The ice cracked. The whites dissolved like breath on glass. At the clock's core, Wild Rose discovered the truth. It had not malfunctioned. It had been wound by loneliness, responding to the absence of its makers. She unwound it gently, turning the great wheel back, not to silence, but to balance. Seasons would return. Cold would come and go as it should. When they returned to Polaris Shire, the snow was already retreating. Lanterns were lit. Tables were set outdoors despite the chill. There was soup. There were pies. There were at least 6 kinds of bread. Mayor Bramblefoot raised a mug. "To Wild Rose, who reminded the stars that small folk matter." Wild Rose smiled, full and warm. When she lifted off at dawn, the Shire looked smaller but brighter than ever. And somewhere between the stars, the universe quietly agreed. Much later, after the pirate ports and the wolf banners, after the Watchers and the broken gods, scribes would argue about when Wild Rose first learned the truth. That the universe was not held together by empires or machines, but by small places that refused to disappear. The hobbits of Polaris Shire never called her a hero. In their records, she is listed simply as the traveler who knocked, because she always landed gently, and she always asked before entering. What none of them knew, then or later, was that the coal clock was not an isolated relic. It was one of many anchors of continuity, devices scattered across time and space by the first civilization, beings who had learned too late that progress without memory destroys reality. Each anchor was tuned not to power, but to presence. When abandoned, they drifted toward extremes, endless war, endless heat, endless cold. Wild Rose had already crossed the wake of others. She had felt one burning too hot in a desert world where oceans once sang. She had outrun another collapsing into darkness near the ruins the Watchers now haunted. But Polaris Shire was the first time she understood the pattern. The clock responded not to tools, but to belonging. That night, after the feast, Wild Rose sat alone on the hill above the Shire. Her saucer's hull reflected the star Polaris, steady and unmoving. She replayed the clock's resonance through her console and saw the same signature she'd encountered before. Faint, patient, waiting. A map unfolded across her display, not of space, but of moments. Points of light flickered on and off. A forest path where a girl once wore a red hood. A pirate harbor that existed in 3 centuries at once. A farm on Vancouver Island that refused to vanish from history no matter how often timelines were rewritten. Wild Rose exhaled slowly. She was not just wandering. She was being called. The Hobbit child Elsie had followed her quietly. "Will the cold come back?" she asked. "Winter always comes," Wild Rose said, "but it won't stay." "Will you come back?" Wild Rose smiled, the kind of smile that carries centuries. "I already have. I just haven't done it yet." When she lifted off at dawn, the saucer slipped briefly sideways, not forward in space, but along the grain of time itself. Sensors flared. Another anchor pulsed somewhere,